Duolingo English Test, one of the most popular English language tests these days. Duolingo is accepted in many countries if you're planning for a higher study program. I'm sure at this point you're very curious to find out more about the Duolingo English Test, and this video is all about that. The Duolingo English Test is a very different test when compared to any other similar test checking your English language proficiency like the IELTS, TOEFL, PTE. There are many features that make Duolingo very different, exceptional, and a much more friendly exam for candidates. First of all, the Duolingo is the shortest test out of these. Well, yes, it's just a 1-hour test. The other major difference is that the Duolingo is a computer-based test that can be taken from your home. Yes, you do not need to go to an exam center. All you need to do is book your Duolingo exam and attend the same from the comforts of your home. The Duolingo English Test is a computer adaptive test. Now, what do you mean by a computer adaptive test? It simply means that the kind of questions that pop up and the level of difficulty varies from one test taker to the other. So depending on how you perform, the level of difficulty keeps changing. And this also means that at one point, no test is similar. So there is a large pool of questions from which this Duolingo test picks out the different question types based on your performance in each of these questions. And there is no particular order in how the questions appear, and there is no particular number of questions set for the test. So let's get into detail and find out more about the Duolingo English Test. What is the test structure? The Duolingo English Test is structured into 3 different parts. The first one is of 5 minutes and is the introduction and onboarding process. In these 5 minutes, your computer, that is the equipment that you use for the test, is verified for its camera, for its microphone and speakers. After which you have to upload a government issued photo ID proof. Once both these are done, then you have to review the rules and regulations of the test. And this is what happens in the first 5 minutes of your Duolingo English Test. The next 45 minutes is when you will attend the adaptive test. Now in this adaptive test, you have to answer around 12 to 13 different question types, and some of these question types appear a number of times. Another highlight of the Duolingo English Test is that you will have no clue regarding which question will pop up next on screen. You just have to be prepared with all the different question types. The last 10 minutes is an evaluation of your writing sample and speaking sample. So you're given different tasks, and these are productive tasks to check your writing skills and your speaking skills. Now this section in the previous version of the Duolingo English Test was not scored. But in the latest changes that we have for this Duolingo English Test, even this last 10-minute section is scored as well as sent to the university or college that you're applying to. How is the Duolingo English Test scored? Well, you're scored on a scale from 10 to 160, out of which 130 to 135 mean you have an equivalent to IELTS band 7. And if you manage to score a complete 160, that is equivalent to the IELTS 8.59 band. Now, because the Duolingo English Test is something that can be taken in the comforts of your home, there are strict rules and regulations that you need to follow. Here are the things you need to keep in mind while appearing for the test. So I'm going to tell you the rules and regulations that you need to follow before the test and during the test. First of all, you have to ensure that you are in a private environment. That means you need to have around 1 hour's time at your hand in a room completely alone. Now, this room should be well lit. You need to ensure that there is no one else, that the presence of anyone else in this room could debar you from the test. You also need to ensure that you have a very strong and stable internet connection and power supply. So your system should preferably be a laptop because you're not allowed to take any external or additional devices. Microphones, webcams, speakers are not allowed, nor are you allowed to use a headphone. So the major needs of your test, like you need to be completely visible throughout the test on camera, that you have these interactive task types where you need to speak out answers, where you need to listen to responses and respond in written or spoken form, requires your system to have an inbuilt front-facing camera, good speakers and microphones. So any such additional devices are not accepted in the test. You also have to ensure that there is no additional web browser or any other program playing in the background while attending the test. You are remotely proctored by a human invigilator and the AI that assesses any behavioral changes. So throughout the test, you're being monitored. At all points during the test, you need to ensure that your face is completely visible on camera with both your ears visible at the same time. This simply means at any point, if you intend to look out for help, probably look at either sides, only one part of your ear would be visible, and that would also mean that you would be debarred from the test. So yes, there are these stringent rules in place while attending the Duolingo English test. Things to keep in mind during the test. At all times, your face should be fully visible and you should be looking at the screen. Of course, there are questions where you're required to type out the answers, at which point you could be looking at your keyboard. But make sure your face is fully visible. And while you speak and write responses, it should be done naturally. If at any point it feels like you've memorized answers or you're reading out scripts, again, your test results will be invalid. So let me introduce you to the different question types that you will encounter in your Duolingo English test. One is, type the statement that you hear. There will be an audio clip that is played in which you will be listening to a short, simple sentence. At the end of the audio, you are required to type out the statement that you listened to. You have an opportunity to play back the audio 2 times. The next question type is, select the real English words from the list given. You are given a list of 18 to 20 words, out of which some are real English words and some are made-up words. The requirement or the task here is to identify the words that are real and used in English. So you highlight the words that you consider are the real English words. Question number 3. Type the missing letters in a passage given below. You will be given a short paragraph. And in this paragraph, there would be words with certain letters missing. You're required to read sentence by sentence and fill in the letters to complete the words. This often becomes challenging because there are certain words which would have very similar spellings or very similar blanks that would make up very different words. For example, this and that. Both starts with the TH. So if I add a blank, 2 blanks after TH, the word could either be this or that. So you need to find out by placing it in context to identify which word is to be completed by adding in the right letters. Write a description of the image given below for 1 minute. You are shown an image. It could be anything. And you're also given space to type out your response. You have 1 minute time. So you can type out as long as you want, but the maximum time you can take is just a minute. So the description could be in one long sentence, or it could be in a couple of sentences. Question number 5. Record yourself saying the statement below. You're given a short statement, and you also have the option to start recording your response. All you need to do is read out the statement. Next is the most interesting part of this test, the interactive reading section. Now, I found this really interesting and challenging. I'll tell you why. Because this interactive reading is divided into certain sections. You're given a total of 8 minutes, and you have 5 different types of questions based on this reading passage. The first question type is that you're given the first paragraph of the passage and certain words are missing. You have to select the right words from a drop-down box. The second type of this category is that you're given the first paragraph which you've just answered, and then you have a blank space and a following paragraph. And out of a list of paragraphs given, you have to select one paragraph that fits in best. The third type is click and drag text to highlight the answer. So again, you will have a part of this paragraph and there will be a question given. Now to answer the question, you have to drag that portion of the passage and drop it into the box. The fourth question type under this category is to select the idea that is expressed in this passage. So yes, you've by now completed a passage and you're given a couple of options and you have to select the best option that expresses or summarizes the main idea given in the passage. And the fifth type of question in this category is to select a suitable title for the passage. Of course, from a list of titles given. So this makes up the interactive reading section and you have a total of 8 minutes to complete these 5 questions. Question number 7 is listen and participate in a conversation. Now the context of this conversation is academic, which means you might be listening to a student talking to a professor, or it could be 2 students talking about their academics. Now you will be given the context in a paragraph and you will be listening to an audio clip. Now when you play the audio clip, it would be the response of the other person. For example, it could be the professor greeting you and asking a certain question, and you will have to select the best response that can be given to the person who has just asked you the question. So you have a list of responses and you select the most apt one. Now once you select the most apt response, again there's an audio clip that plays which will continue the conversation. And you have to keep selecting the best responses possible to the audio clips that are already given. At the end of it, a surprise question comes up, which means while you're trying to answer this, it is highly unlikely that you will remember all the concepts that you've just tried and answered. But the next question is linked to this directly. You are given 75 seconds to summarize the conversation that just happened. Now, isn't that wonderful? Question number 8. Prepare to write about the topic below. You're given a couple of questions on a topic and you have 5 minutes to type out your response. Prepare to speak about the topic below. So you have an audio icon given, and as you click on the icon, a question is read out to you. So you're listening to an audio question and you have to give a response for around 90 seconds. Question number 10, Prepare to speak about the image given below. Again, you're given an image and you have to record yourself describing the image that you see. Question number 11. Prepare to speak about the topic given below. Here you will see a question which is very similar to the IELTS speaking part 2, the cue card section. So you have a small card given with a main topic and some sub-questions, and you have to answer on the question for around 90 seconds. After these, you move on to the last section, the last 10 minutes of the test, where you have a written and a spoken question type. The first is to prepare to write on the topic given below. Now here, you're given a time limit of 5 minutes. And in these 5 minutes, you can type out your response to the question. And the last type of question is prepare to speak on the topic given below. So you have a topic or a question given, and you have around 3 minutes time to record your response on the question. So these are the different types of questions that happen in the Duolingo English test. Like I told you, out of these, some of the questions repeat a couple of times. For instance, where you have to fill in the missing letters in a paragraph, or where you have to select the right English words from a list of words. These types of questions, or these are some of the examples wherein you have these questions repeating over and over again, but again in no fixed order. So that was a brief about the Duolingo English test. Watch out our space for more videos on the Duolingo English test. We're going to talk about each of these question types in detail and help you with preparing for the test. Thank you.
MedCity International Academy. Trusted hands forever.